Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to More with Mindie. I am your host, Mindie Barnett, on this pretty nice Monday, I have to say, for December. It's a bit balmy out there. I'm joined this morning by Jennifer Lynn Robinson, who is a master networker from Purposeful Networking. Thank you so much for being here, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So talk to me a little bit about what you're doing now. Just giving us like a Cliff Notes version, because we want to delve more into that later, but when we start from the beginning, but real quick.
Sure.
Okay.
So mainly what I do now is just help people to network better. And I do that through speaking and training. So I do everything from like a shorter keynote to longer workshops for law firms, companies, nonprofits, universities, conferences, all of that fun stuff. And just teach people everything from how to prepare for networking events, how to craft their elevator pitch, how to follow up, how to make a great first impression, all kinds of things of that nature.
That's fantastic and very important skills to have in your war chest as you go out there and try to like make your way through the sea of competition, if you will.
Yes.
So you started off as an attorney, right?
Correct. Yes.
That's an interesting segue. So let's talk a little bit about what made you want to go into law, and maybe how you use some of your law school or just lawyer experience, I should say, now in this networking space.
Yeah, so I think I probably wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was about 5.
Really?
Yeah, my dad is a litigator.
Okay.
And so I kind of watched him, growing up, doing his hearings. I would go to court with him sometimes and think, I want to do this, especially because I was just like a really argumentative kid. So, I think, and I wasn't
good naturally.
Right.
So why not get paid for it?
Why not get paid for it? And I also wasn't good at math and science. And I came from one of those households where my parents were both immigrants, and they were basically like, you're either going to go to med school or law school, and you're not good at science. So there it was.
So there's your choice.
Right.
It's not a bad field to obviously
not
pursue.
a bad, yeah.
What kind of attorney was your father?
So he's still an attorney.
Okay.
He also did civil litigation, and he specialized in family law and a lot of asbestos work.
Oh,
and he worked for a big firm, and he did a lot of traveling and court work. And he's still, he's winding down his career now, but he still practices. And so I think from the time I was little, I always wanted to go to law school. Obviously continued on that path. Went to law school, went into civil litigation, and really had no plans of opening a business or becoming an entrepreneur, but had a terrible accident. And that's kind of what took me out of what I was doing.
Okay, so how long were you an attorney?
So
or a practicing attorney, because you're still an attorney.
Yeah, so that's, at the time I had the accident, I think I'd been practicing about 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're practicing, and you shared this story with me, obviously earlier, or when we first met, and we've been connected ever since. The great connector that you are, you got me in, and I'm very grateful. But let's share your story with everybody else, because I'd like to say that obviously, while it's very tragic and horrific, to say the least, you grew from it.
I did.
You took something with you, and that was sort of your intermission in life. I'm
Yes.
sure you've had others too, we all do, but your pause to kind of take a minute once you started healing and reflect and go into a different direction. But let's take us back to that fateful day, if you will.
Yeah, so the fateful day was May 15th, 2008. So this year, 2018, I celebrated 10 years of surviving, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And I celebrated with getting a tattoo. And
you
then,
did? Let's see, where is it? Anywhere we can see? It's in the back? Okay, very cool.
So the tattoo I got is really meaningful to me. It's on my late mother's evil eye that she used to wear that keeps away bad spirits. So, and then I also went to, oh gosh, what's it called? The place, Treehouse. I can't think of the name. It's in Fairmount Park, and it's zip lining.
Okay.
Treehouse, yeah. So I did
that too?
I did zip lining.
You zip lined?
Yes.
I'm so impressed.
So I went with some friends, and it was awesome. So that's how I celebrated. So that's the good part. But anyway, so let's go back to May 15, 2008. I was downtown. I'd taken the afternoon off because my youngest sister was getting married the next week. I had a doctor's appointment, and then my plan was to help her with some wedding stuff in University City. So I left Penn Hospital, where my doctor was, and I was walking as a pedestrian, and I got hit and pinned underneath a truck. And literally lucky to be here, lucky I was so close to a trauma hospital, lucky that I had help there right away to literally bring another truck to get the truck off of me to put me into an ambulance.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah.
So you were pinned for quite a while, weren't you?
It seemed like a while. I mean, it's hard to judge how much time it was. It seemed like a while. Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So how did they just not see you? Like,
my understanding is they were making a left turn and didn't see me, and then panicked and drove over me instead of braking. Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And for the folks at home, I mean, your injuries were beyond extensive.
The injuries were horrific, very, very serious, physical injuries, multiple surgeries, ICU, rehab, everything you can think of that would go along with something like that. But honestly, the things that were the hardest were the mental struggles because I had brain trauma. So I had what they called a minor traumatic brain injury, which, you know, when you're doing stuff at a high level every day isn't so minor.
Right,
And then I had PTSD. So I had a lot of nightmares and anxiety and depression and struggles. So that was really the heart of what made it really, really tough, you know, to recover.
And how long was your recovery? I mean, you're still recovering.
Yeah.
You have a big operation on the horizon for you. That's hopefully your last one, or one of the last of the worst, if you will. But how long was that initial recovery process? Quite long, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, sure. I mean, there's still, you know, I'm doing significantly better. There's still things that are going on, but I would say it was a good few years of intense, you know, rehab and psychiatrists and depression and, you know, trying to figure out my life. And, you know, when I had the accident, I was a newlywed, so that was very difficult for my husband and I and our family and our marriage and, you know, just all of those struggles.
But he stuck by you.
He stuck by me, yes.
Yeah, he's a keeper.
Yeah, he is a keeper, yeah.
Yeah, we like you. You're good. Does he have any friends for me? And I'm just I'm only kidding, half joking. At any rate, that's obviously, people really show their true colors in times of need and
Absolutely.
trauma like that. Trauma, I should say. Trauma and drama, I suppose. So in your recovery process, when did you decide that you were going to parlay into another field, move your experience? And what lessons did you learn from that time that you take with you now in this industry?
Right, so it was very hard because, you know, I was forced out of doing litigation. I didn't choose to leave it. You know, I was basically being told by all my doctors I can't go back to court. I couldn't remember.
Because of your brain trauma?
Because of the brain trauma. Couldn't remember my cases, couldn't find my words, couldn't have conversations, couldn't even be in a room like this with lots of lights or any disruptions. So there was a lot of things I was struggling with. I ended up going back to my practice part-time in more of a desk job, and I'm just so not a desk job person. So that actually made it worse for me from a mental standpoint. And so ultimately I decided to leave. I had no plan B. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I started thinking about it, and I thought because I was so much in the heart of my recovery, I really couldn't go back to a traditional 9 to 5. I just had too much going on with my therapists and my surgeries and all that. And, you know, over time when I was with all my in-house legal jobs, I did a lot of stuff with volunteerism and community service.
Okay.
And that was a big priority for me and still is.
What were some of the things you did and that you continued to do in that space?
Yeah, so I mean, for my last in-house job was with AAA Mid-Atlantic. I was in the legal department, and I was their Philadelphia liaison to coordinate all of their volunteerism activities. So their United Way campaign, and, you know, we did things for like Super Adoption Day for Animals. We did working in the Manna Kitchen, you know, making meals. I mean, all kinds of things, you know. That was wonderful. And I kind of saw, you know, working with a lot of nonprofits over the years, a need to connect nonprofits with businesses. So I thought I would start a business doing consulting to try to connect nonprofits and businesses. So that's really the initial business I started.
Because businesses, at least because I'm in PR, and a lot of them reach out to me and wanted you give backs or things like that. I don't think a lot of business owners have the knowledge or know where to go to do those sorts of things. And it's also, as you know, because you made a career of it, at least initially, it's a full-time job, right?
It's a full-time job. I think there's a lot of nonprofits that don't take advantage of the business community and vice versa. I mean, there's so much that can be gained on either side.
Sure.
So I thought I would be sort of a connector between, you know, those two kind of realms. And so when I started the business, that's what I started with, and eventually it grew into focusing on the networking. And, you know, when you're asking what kind of lessons I learned very quickly that in order for me to be successful in any business, I needed a big network. And, you know, I was an unknown quantity. Like, I was starting as a consultant in a field that I had no experience in, essentially, you know, not the legal community that I was used to. And I really had to force myself, especially at that time, with things I was still struggling with, to get out there. And, you know, that was actually part of my recovery.
Was that intimidating to you at first?
At the time it was, even though that's not my personality.
No, because you're very outgoing.
Yeah, but I wasn't the same as I am now. Like, I was struggling with a lot. So it did, you know, on the one hand, it helped me out of my shell of everything I was going through.
Sure.
On the other hand, it was a real struggle because, you know, I had been so withdrawn for a while. So I think, you know, I definitely learned that, and I definitely incorporated, while I was an attorney, the skills that I used to build rapport with people, with court staff, with, you know, lawyers and judges, because I did jury trials and hearings and things like that. So it's all about your relationships and like what people's impression is of you. So
and reading people the right way. It's very important.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Yeah.
So I definitely brought that into what I was doing. I would say the biggest like negative thing I learned as far as my prior network when I was a lawyer is that all of my network was in the legal community.
I was gonna say,
Right?
that's
So,
your space. Like, I
that's my
came from
space.
television news,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
all my relationships were the camera people and the reporters, and
Yep.
for the most part,
Yeah.
and obviously you have to kind of like get outside of your comfort zone. So how was
Yeah.
that for you?
So yeah, I mean, it was great. Ultimately, I mean, it's amazing. Like, to think that I was a lawyer for so many years, and all I knew was kind of other lawyers around me, and then there was this whole amazing entrepreneur community around the Philly region that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
But just the fact that I had all my network in one industry, and then had to meet all sorts of other people to help me grow my business and find clients and all of that. It was tough, I mean, I hustled. I mean, I still hustle all the time, but at the beginning, I hustled so much.
You really are
yeah.
a hustler. I'm in awe of your hustle, and I think I have pretty much of a good hustle myself, but not like you. You take the cake. You definitely do.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's awesome. So talk to me a little bit about that. What did you do to get into that water that you didn't know? Like, that's tough.
That was tough because, I was very good at my trial work. But at the time I started the business, I recognized I couldn't do the public speaking that I was doing before, even though that's my
That's
love.
what you do now.
That's what I do now.
Right.
That's what I love.
But that took a lot of, I guess, like recovery.
That
and
took a
like,
lot of recovery.
Right.
And also my wonderful rehab people, that I loved and helped me so much, basically saying, we don't suggest you continue with a career where you're going to be public speaking because it's, you have to get used to your new normal, and this isn't going to be realistic for you.
That's hard.
So that was very, very hard to hear, especially after
they're popping the bubble,
exactly.
the balloon with that pin, like before you even
Exactly.
blow it up all the way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was very, very hard.
But you proved them wrong.
I proved them wrong. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think
they're great. They meant well, but you proved them wrong.
They meant well. I mean, they helped me so much. But yeah,
Sure.
I think I'm also one of those people, like, tell me no and then see what happens.
The same way.
So
like you get it back with a vengeance.
Exactly.
I don't take no well either.
Exactly. So, but I think what was hard was that, I had all this public speaking experience in the legal field, but nobody knew me as a speaker. So at the beginning, it was like hustling for like speaking at public libraries and Rotary clubs and anywhere that would have me, not making money and just, getting my name out there. And
So
that
how
was,
did you do that? You just call like the
Yeah.
local library and say, hey, I want to do a talk?
I would meet people and they would say, hey, you should call the library. You should come speak to this chamber. You should come do this. I'll introduce you to this person. So it was, again, a lot of just hustling. Just more people I talked to, the more opportunities came up, and then trying to grow from those opportunities.
Gotcha.
But, it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And you did a lot probably pro bono
A lot.
without getting paid, just to kind of get your
Absolutely.
name out there too, which is not always the easiest
No.
thing to accept or do, or, time is money technically, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was, lucky for me, I was doing a lot of consulting also. So I was making money in consulting
So
and
you were able
basically
to
doing
expand
free speaking.
You're
yeah.
more stripes in that space. Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more from Jennifer, and she's going to give us some tips
Yes.
about what we can do to be better networkers. Stay with us.
There you go, Richard. Oh, is that too hard for you?
No. Is it too hard for you?
Woo, we're playing catch now. Oh, shit.
Why should you choose Rowan College at Gloucester County? Low cost. The #1 nursing program in all of New Jersey. More than 70 programs of study, including selective admissions. With record enrollment. A premier partnership with Rowan University. Transfer options with numerous universities. 4-year degree options on our campus. Rowan College at Gloucester County. Now you're thinking.
Excuse me, Medicare coverage can be a very confusing and complicated process. Help is just a phone call away. 856-226-4800. As a licensed insurance agent, I'll assist you in making an informed and confident decision on a Medicare plan that meets your needs, lifestyle, and budget. Call me today for a free, no obligation Medicare benefits consultation. 856-226-4800.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to create a better visitor experience.
Improve our workflow.
Attract new customers. That's when Fast Signs recommended Fleet Graphics.
Yeah, now business is rolling in. Get started at fastsigns.com.
What do I want to be when I grow up? Maybe a musician? A veterinarian? Maybe an equestrian? A mommy? Well, why not be all these things and more? Consider joining me, Dr. V, with friends and colleagues as we explore a wide range of topics together. V is for variety, here on RVN TV.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I am Mindie Barnett with Jennifer Lynn Robinson from Purposeful Networking. She is the master networker. And hey, this is a great time because everybody's getting ready, well, most people, I guess I should say, for holiday parties or just family parties or friendship parties or whatever it may be. And you never know who's going to be at that party or that gathering or just, you know, hanging out, if you will, and maybe get you the next gig or, you know, put you in touch with somebody else who's going to be able to further your career. So let's talk a little bit a little more about your story, Jennifer, in terms of maybe the first talks that you did and what you're doing today versus what you were doing when you first started your business. And then we want to get into our dish and talk about how you can help us.
Okay. Yeah, so when I started, like I said, I focused much more on consulting. And as I got better, I grew it more into the speaking and training I'm doing now. Since my background is as an attorney, you know, that's been a great niche area for me to work with a lot of attorneys and law firms and legal organizations. But I work with all kinds of people now, and I love it. You know, I really love what I'm doing. I'm very happy with it. And, you know, I think I still do consulting. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. So I still do one-on-one consulting. Sometimes I do one-time strategy sessions with people to formulate a networking strategic plan for them. I can do ongoing consulting. Some of the stuff I'm going to be offering, which I'm excited about, I'm going to start doing some conference prep for people.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have a law firm or a business and you're sending, or even a small business where you're sending people to a conference, there's a huge cost involved with that, of sending everybody and putting them up. And
I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Well, for myself and one of my team, we're going to one in San Diego.
There you
It's
go.
a huge investment.
It's a huge investment.
And we're going to learn, you know, in terms of like what they're going to bring to the table in a certain area of like the media marketing that we do. But there's obviously like a whole sea of networking potential.
There is.
So what are some of the things that you're going to be offering, without giving the secret sauce away, if you will? Like, what are some of the things that you would be able to offer to someone like me or a client that would hire you for those services? Yeah,
so we would do a strategy session. Either I could do it in a group at somebody's office or workplace or one-on-one, where we would help you navigate the conference. So essentially, what you should be doing to maximize your opportunities at that conference, within the conference, and then on your own, because you can create your own opportunities. For example, you know, at a conference, if you have people, let's say you're with a company that's national, you should be reaching out to people in that city that you may not know from the company and setting up a few breakfasts or coffee or a dinner with people so that you get to know people in other areas of the company that you wouldn't otherwise get to know.
So like if you work for a national company, you're saying there was a division there. Okay, that's important. That's great.
Exactly. So yeah, just kind of helping people navigate the whole conference strategy so that their employers or their companies or their businesses feel like they're maximizing the money they spend and the time they spent sending them there. So that's one thing I'm going to be offering. Also just networking event prep. So, you know, for a lot of, like, let's say firms, like they do a lot of big networking events. And then again, you know, they have clients and vendors come and, you know, different people that they collaborate with, and they want people to be prepared to network. But
Right.
a lot of times people hate networking, they're not prepared to network,
A lot of people
you know.
hate networking.
A
Think of
lot
it
of
as
people
chore.
hate it, right? And then a lot of people, especially when it's something that's within your own workplace or firm, they will tend to stand around with their own colleagues,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And
yes,
so
yes.
that's not what the firm or company wants. They want you to meet new people, you know, obviously hobnob with their vendors and the people that, like, you know, you work with every
course.
day, but a lot of people don't do that. So it would be having prep sessions of how to maximize the times for your networking events at your place of business.
So what are your 5
yeah.
secret steps would you offer to like what would you suggest? So
Right.
someone this is not me because I'm probably the opposite. I'm
You're
like
very outgoing,
outgoing. I
right.
can talk to a paint on the wall and like, hey,
Yeah,
Mindie,
I'm the
what's
same
up?
way.
Oh, you look like you're trying today. But at any rate, you know, a lot of people tend to kind of like become a little shy.
Yes.
They don't want to like talk to someone they don't know. They don't know how to break the ice. Like, what are some of the things obviously you want to not hang out with the people that you know.
Right, so that's a great
Like,
tip. Don't hang out with the people you know.
Right.
So I would say that's probably the primary thing. And I think also for a lot of these companies that sponsor events, you know, you'll go to some bigger events and you'll see a company might have a table, right? But if you were smart and you were at that company, you would actually make part of your sponsorship package that the 8 or 10 people that are coming should all be sat at different tables.
Smart.
Right?
That's a really good tip.
Yeah, because,
a lot
you
of people
know,
don't do that. They just
right.
put their people
They
together.
put their people
But yeah,
together.
but let them sit at other tables, pay for the 8 or 10 or whatever it
Exactly.
is, but you're not getting your own table. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
that's brilliant.
So that they're meeting other people, so that you
Right.
know they're maximizing their chances of meeting 8 to 10 times the people they would meet in the room, as opposed to sitting at the table with their same people.
Right, right, right.
So I would say that's something I would recommend. You know, I would say if you're an introvert, you know, be really selective about the networking that you're doing. It doesn't mean, you know, like anything else, I think it's practice makes perfect.
Right.
But don't set yourself up for failure as an introvert. I think sometimes people say you have to network, and then you'll have somebody who's an introvert go to an event of like 200 people.
Right.
That's not where you want to start.
No.
You know, if you're an introvert, go to an event with 25 people.
Right.
You know, get there early so there's only a few people in the room, you know?
That's smart. So it's less intimidating.
Less intimidating.
You can chat with somebody, kind of get comfortable with them.
Exactly.
That's good advice.
And if you feel like, you know, you're not outgoing and you don't feel like you can talk to anybody or approach them, approach the host or one of the planners, tell them it's your first time there, and ask them if they can introduce you to anybody in the room. And at least that gets through that initial introduction, so it's
Yeah.
not as hard.
It's
right?
scary for
It
some
is,
people.
yeah.
I mean, not
Yeah,
not me,
not
but
me,
some people
yeah.
feel like I know, you know, I've heard it from some from my team that don't necessarily enjoy this. It's almost like being the first day of school and like
Oh,
being the new
yes.
kid in school. I'm like,
Yeah.
where do I sit at the lunch table? It's like awkward, and you know, you
Yeah.
don't want to be like, I
No,
can see that.
I mean,
but it's
for a
important.
lot of people, it is awkward. I think, you know, some of the other things, I know we won't get into them today, but I think people struggle with that I help with is how to enter conversations, you know, at networking events when they're already taking place, especially group conversations, how to approach groups, how to exit conversations, how to get away from people gracefully, you know, and also should you network with a colleague, which as we said, you shouldn't, but there are instances, I think, as an introvert where that can be helpful to have a wing person. So those are some of the things I would help with
That's
as well.
really good information.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, so as we enter the holiday realm, it obviously changes the tone just a little bit. It's not
Absolutely.
necessarily, you know, in place because, you know, people aren't going to necessarily network solely for work.
Right.
It's supposed to be an enjoyable, like, non-work event or whatever it may be. But how do you parlay that into sort of like a, you know, an opportunity, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think there still are opportunities, but you're right. People are there to have a good time. It's not the same as going to like a business card exchange. So even though you may give out a card or two, this isn't the time to kind of throw your cards, you know, around and
Right.
talk about all your services and get into the meat and the grittiness of like what your services are in your business.
Right.
People want to have a good time, so you want to ask kind of like those fun, open-ended questions to people. One that I really love that's so basic is just, you know, what's your favorite holiday tradition, or what are you doing for the holidays? You know,
Just to like sort of
just
get
to break
the ball
ice.
rolling.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it shouldn't be about, you know, what do you do and you have any job openings or how can I
Right.
help you? And it's not the same as a traditional networking event. I mean, find things that are common ground that people are going to be excited to talk about that are not work related.
But then how do you get into the work?
Right.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think particularly if it's a work party, because you know a lot of people are at workplaces where they'll have a holiday party for their employees.
Right.
So I think that's a great opportunity as far as the networking, because there's a lot of people who don't have opportunities to meet like higher ups or even lateral people at their companies
Because
that
they're
they
all
don't
like in
deal
their own
with.
offices. and-
Exactly.
Right,
exactly.
right, right.
So you should research who is going to be at the event and take that as an opportunity to introduce yourself to a higher up or to somebody that you want to meet within the company. And don't feel like you shouldn't highlight, what kind of contribution you're making, but just make it part of a larger conversation that's more casual.
Like, I really love working here.
Yeah.
I found the last project to be like really fulfilling.
Exactly.
I'm so glad that we were able to excel, like something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. That's great advice, really good advice. And then what would you say would be like crossing the line? Obviously, spitting out your business cards and stuff like that isn't appropriate.
I think,
but
basically, I mean, and this isn't going to be a surprise to anyone, the thing you can do, I think, to cross the line the most would just be to be inappropriate. So,
like get drunk.
Get drunk, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's actually a lot of articles that have come out recently post Me Too about workplaces either canceling their holiday parties, making them daytime events so they don't serve alcohol, or eliminating alcohol altogether.
Because of that
situation, because they don't want people to be uncomfortable, or they don't want a legal situation that might develop,
Oh, I'm sure with that whole Me Too thing, that's probably, yeah, that makes sense.
So I think that's really the
move.
worst thing you can do, is just, be inappropriate to people. But also, I think one thing that I think is good is if people are having a theme party, even if you're not the kind of person that likes a theme, like my husband is not that kind of person. I remember one year his office had an ugly sweater party, and he's just like, he's really like Brooks Brothers preppy, so, and he's like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm like, yes, you are, So I made him go buy a plain sweater, and then we bought one of these, they have these little ugly sweater kits where you can actually put like tchotchkes and stuff on your sweater.
Cool. So it's not like forever,
exactly.
like you're investing in this sweater that you're never breaking out of your closet
Exactly.
ever again. That's cool.
So I mean, something like that. Like if somebody has a fun theme, like don't be like the Scrooge that's not going to participate in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be the happy-go-lucky, like merry-go-round.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. All right, we have to take another break. There's so much to say, so little time. Stay with us. We're going to find out more good information from Jennifer when we come right back. I keep looking at the wrong thing. I don't know.
There you go, Richard. Oh! Is that too hard for you?
No. Is it too hard for you?
Woo! We're playing catch now. Oh, shit.
Why should you choose Rowan College at Gloucester County? Low cost, the #1 nursing program in all of New Jersey. More than 70 programs of study, including selective admissions. With record enrollment. A premier partnership with Rowan University. Transfer options with numerous universities. 4-year degree options on our campus. Rowan College at Gloucester County. Now you're thinking.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Once again, more with Mindy Barnett, Jennifer Lynn Robinson, Purposeful Networking, getting a lot of good information about how to make the most of holiday parties and other festive events that are going on this time of year. Before we get a little bit more, pull a little more juice out of you, Jen, I want you to just share with people who might want to get in touch with you because you obviously have a lot to bring to the table.
Thank you.
So just look into that camera and tell them where to find you.
Okay, so you can find me at jennifer@purposefulnetworking.com. That's my email. And my network, my website is purposefulnetworking.com. And then I am at RU Networked on Twitter and on Instagram, so you can find me there as well.
You're everywhere. Okay, so the do's and don'ts. So the top 3 do's versus the top 3 don't. One major we talked about already was not getting
not getting bombed.
trashed at your holiday party. Yeah.
That's definitely the number one don't. You know, one thing I didn't mention that I think is important is, and we were talking a little bit about this at the break, don't bring somebody to a holiday party that you have to babysit. So, you know, sometimes it's just employees, but sometimes they'll say bring a significant other, bring your spouse, whatever. But if you don't have the kind of significant other that can fend for themselves, don't bring them, because you're just going to be kind of, you know,
hanging out with them the whole time.
Right,
you're gonna feel like you're abandoning them.
Exactly.
And then they're going to get angry if you do want to like walk away for a little bit because they're all alone. That's just go
100%.
yourself, right?
Go yourself.
And we were just chatting a little bit off camera. Like I was at an event not that long ago. One event that I tend to bring like a guest to because you're invited to. But this one, my guest was significantly late, which was actually to my benefit because it forced me to just sort of, well, not forced. It doesn't take me a lot to talk to people, but I mean, I really was just sort of like sitting at the bar. I'm like, hey, I like your shoes. You know, where'd you get them? Like stuff like that. And I really got in with a few people, and we exchanged cards and the whole nine, which isn't really the purpose of that particular event. But that's good,
I think that's great. I mean, you know, at a normal networking event that's not a holiday party, I think that should be your goal, to meet like 3 to 5 new people. You know, some people feel like when they're starting out, or even later in their careers, unfortunately, that the goal is to give out, you know, 20, 30 cards and meet a ton of people, but it's not. It's to have a few meaningful conversations and then have like a few quality people to follow up with and build from there. You know?
That's true. Yeah, because if you're just randomly just kind of like talking to as many people as you can talk to, they're not going to remember you.
No, they're not.
You know? Yeah. So without like, how do you, I guess, very tactfully inquire about having them hire you for your services or something like that? What would be your advice to that without, you know, coming off obnoxious?
Right. So, I mean, I would try to get to the heart of what people's pain points are or what they're doing with their business. You know, ask them about the projects they're working on, ask them about kind of the challenges they're having in their industry or with their business. And then if anything that comes out is something that you think you can help solve based on your services, I think that's an appropriate time to offer it, to say, you know, I heard you say X, Y, and Z. I could help with that, and this is the way I could do it. So you can either say that right there, or if you're following up with somebody, you can reference that and say, you know, based on our conversation, you said that, you know, you might need help with this, and this is something I could offer if you're interested.
That's good advice. That's good advice. You know, I was at a networking event at the Pyramid Club, a group that you brought me into, so thank you, as well as Fem City. Thank you. You're the leader of the pack for that. Want to talk to everybody a little bit about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay, because that's a great networking
absolutely.
organization.
Fem City is a national organization, a women's business networking organization. I run the chapter here of over 2,000 women now, which is the biggest in the country. And so we get together monthly all over the suburbs and the city and just grow together, network, collaborate, hopefully refer each other, and really just build relationships. It's a wonderful group. We have a mix of entrepreneurs, corporate women, women in the nonprofit field. We have a really diverse age range, I would say about late 20s to 70s. So you have women at all stages of life, professionally, personally, and they really support one another. And it's, for me, it came right when I left law practice.
How'd you find it?
Through networking.
Of course.
So I was at a Chamber of Commerce event, and I sat down at a table, and much like you, I'm just like, throw it all out there, honesty. So I was just like, hey, I just started this business. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no network. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I was just like talking to strangers. And, you know, lucky for me.
And you should hire me.
Right, pretty much. Yeah. So lucky for me, the person I sat next to was the husband of the current president of Fem City. And so she's become one of my closest friends. And he was like, you need to join my wife's organization. So that's how I found out about it, you know. And it was the first group that I found, you know, when I started as an entrepreneur. And so it's been great for me as far as the path for my business. But then also so many of the women I started with were kind of at the same point where they were starting out, and watching them flourish and grow.
Oh, that's
you
so
know,
wonderful.
it's been amazing.
Women supporting women.
Yes.
Can't beat that. All right. Well, you've been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for all of your great information.
Absolutely.
Thank you at home for watching. Be sure to tune in next week. And in the meantime, have a great week and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.